Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. I'm your host Al Richards, and we have the lovely Charity Fuller sitting in for the other lovely JD Greenouch, right? Yeah,
always a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's great to have you here, and you guys will start seeing more pictures pulling up on the social media. So Charity has basically given up some time out of her day to come in the studio, and even if she's not the co-host, to take pictures, and which I think is really cool. Plus she's doing a lot of our writing on the content with things. So Charity, thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. I love doing it. I'm passionate about it, and I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, we have a good family that's here now with everybody. It's so many cool things. Hey, before I introduce our two special guests that are here today, we just want to let people know, and again, this is something that Charity wrote, and I was doing it at the end of the show last week, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to use this at the front part of the show. So, the Other Side of Addiction podcast is about raw vulnerability. We share stories that help uncover the root causes of addiction, shame felt on both sides, matter of the conscious and subconscious mind, continued beliefs, and often confusing path of recovery. That's what this show is about, and that is one of the things we're getting a lot when people reach out to us. They go, what we love most about this show is it is raw, because people are not afraid to hold it back, and we don't want them to. We want them to tell it like it is, because we've all been through a ton of crap, whether you're the one that has battled the addiction or like some of us here today, it's us on the other side, right? Because it takes us down with us. So, all right. Well, let's get to our special guest. We have Christy and Nikki with us today. So, guys, thank you for taking time out of your day or morning to come and be with Charity and I. Yeah.
Thank you for having us. We're so happy to be here.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. When Christy reached out to me on Instagram, she was telling me that you guys are like professional podcasters.
Well, I don't know professional, but a lot of people do want us to do their shows for that exact reason. Yeah. The way we speak, how we share so much, the story. So I do get a lot of people that reach out and say, hey, come and do. So we do it.
And what I love about you guys is you guys are a mother-daughter tag team.
Right. That's what people love. And
I think I can speak for Charity as well. I think that is very powerful when you have something like that. We just had some people on the show last week. Charity was a part of that, where it was a mother and a daughter. And they shared, the mother shared about her brother, and then, of course, the daughter, it was her uncle. It was so powerful. I mean, there was times Charity couldn't really hear because she was doing the pictures and things, but the energy and the spirituality that was going on in this room, as well as them on Zoom, because they were from Canada, it was incredible. All of us could feel it. It's almost like her brother was here watching or listening.
It was so powerful, the presence that was here with everyone. It was an unbelievably powerful experience, and even as I captured moments with you all, it just really portrayed, and I thought, wow, this one is something else. But I can say that about all of them.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I would have to concur with you on that. Hey, I used a big word, guys. That's pretty good.
I'm rubbing off on
I concur,
you. I concur that you concur.
All right, guys, a little bio about Nicole. She's an active support for her brother, who is a recovering heroin addict. She is very passionate about sharing the importance and crucial part support people play in the addiction and recovery process. She is currently going to school to be a therapist to help those struggling with addiction. You can follow her and reach her for questions, and we'll pull this up at the end of the show. And then, that was Nicole. Gosh, that was you, Nikki. Right. Okay, now Christy. Christy is the mother of a 27-year-old, 40-month recovering heroin addict. She is very passionate about addiction, sharing their amazing story and how they dealt with addiction as a family. No one should suffer in silence. You can follow her and reach her with questions, and again, we'll share that stuff at the end of the show. But Nikki or Christy, I love what you said about not suffering in silence, because before the show started, we were talking about that, and Charity's over there doing this because she...
I felt that.
Yeah. You know, I held things away from friends and family and that. I didn't want them to know my wife was an alcoholic. And, you know, when I started thinking of the things I was thinking, and really sitting down and having coffee with a buddy when he said, you really need to start sharing this. Right. And once I did, it was such a huge weight off my shoulders to be able to go out there and start talking to people about it. So just start sharing a little bit about what has gone on with you and where things have gone. And we can scoot that a lot closer there so you can get comfortable. And
so, and it's 41 months now, yay.
All right.
So I'll just kind of tell you the story, which is pretty amazing that we went through. And if you have any questions after I'm done, feel free. They usually do. We get the same 3 questions, don't we? Anyway,
oh, do you?
Yeah, I'll tell. Yeah, it's so funny. So, you know, I'm Christy Chavez. He said I'm the mother of a 27-year-old, 41-month recovering heroin addict. And we have our no heroin
shirts. I love your shirts, yeah.
And as I tell this story, each one of the things that were happening to us had an unbelievable physical and emotional trauma on all of us. But imagine being a 25-year-old newly recovering heroin addict, and he's going through this with us, you know, because I didn't realize that, but they were pretty extensive emotional and physical traumas that we were going through. And so in June of 2018, my son checked himself back into rehab for, we don't know, 3, 4, 5. We don't know and we don't care anymore. We just say 3, 4, 5. He doesn't even know, for a heroin addiction. And I know we're not supposed to say addiction anymore. What is it?
I like to say
substance abuse disorder, sorry.
Yeah.
And when he got out of detox, this counselor, Doug, we love, he was an amazing man, and he probably was one of the reasons that Tanner stayed clean and did not die. He just loved him. Walked down the hall with this piece of paper, and he had a copy of his toxicology report. And he looked at Tanner and he said, Tanner, we never see readings like this except in autopsies. He said, I absolutely have no idea how you're alive. He said, you shouldn't be alive. He said, based on these readings, and he had there were so many drugs, 11, 14, we don't even know. He said, you're the best drug addict I have ever seen. He said, it's just unbelievable, like all these drugs, and he was masking and doing all this stuff. And he said, so, you know, you don't ever have to use drugs again because you're the best I've ever seen. And he did it for like 36 years. You know what I mean? He was a counselor, and he said, you will die. He said, you know, you're just fortunate that you are not deceased right now because of the levels. And so we were shocked and, of course, relieved that he was not dead, and very grateful that we had got back into rehab.
Yeah.
So we went through rehab with him for 30 days, me and my daughter and her amazing husband. We did a lot. I was there probably like 6 days a week. My husband was not feeling well at the time, so he couldn't go. So we were, you know, spending as much time to make sure we were there to support Tanner. And we loved learning this stuff because you don't know about addiction.
Right.
You just don't know addiction.
You
they don't teach it in school.
Yeah,
you have no clue. Nobody teaches anything about it. And so we wanted to know it and help Tanner and understand, you know what I mean? So I brought him home on July 13th, and on July 15th I found my husband dead.
Oh, jeez.
And of course we were horrified, traumatized, And we were certainly worried about Tanner. He'd been clean, 35 days? And we knew it could be a trigger. Now, when I say, and when we talk about triggers, we know they're triggers, but we don't know what triggers an addict. Only an addict knows what triggers them. But these instances were considered a trigger. So he was at a camping trip, and he drove by the house and saw the commotion. It was horrifying. And he kept calling my phone, and her wonderful husband, I was like, I can't answer. I couldn't do anything. I was physically exhausted from going through rehab. My husband's now dead, finding him is its own trauma, which I didn't know. And so Lance was just like, you know what, Tanner, just come home. And he's like, what's going on? He knew it was not good. And Lance was like, it's not you, the police, because a lot of drug addicts always assume someone's there for, he's a heroin addict and doing things. So Lance just said, it's not about you, please just come home. And I said, yeah, he can't hear this on the phone. He's got to be in this house with us. Yeah. And so he came home, and he just barely walked in the door, and like what? And we said, Dad had passed. And of course he was very upset, and he went outside and did whatever he did, and then he came back in, and we told him, Tanner, we know this is a challenge, this is a horrifying thing, but you absolutely cannot relapse over this. Me and Nikki and Lance, we cannot handle one more thing. You cannot relapse. Yeah. It will just, it's just unbelievable. And so he
just added pressure on you guys.
It was, right. Yeah. And because he would have been not in our life, because, anyway. So, and he just said, you know what, I won't. And he didn't. And so we tried to get through that, of course. You never get through those things. But on September 11th, he was in this horrible car wreck on the freeway. I don't know if you remember the car wreck in Far West. That was so bad.
No, we don't watch the news at our house.
I don't either.
We don't know a lot what happens.
I don't either. The news is horrifying, isn't it?
Yes.
Anyway, so he was standing out in front of my husband's truck, and he could hear screaming. And he looked around, and there was an SUV that had rolled with a truck. And he ran over there, jumped a fence, cut his leg open, jumped up on top of it because it was on its side, and there was this mother and her 3 kids in there, and they were trapped, and they couldn't get out. So my amazing heroin addict son, recovering heroin addict son, saved the mother and these 3 children out of the car. It was like on the news. He was.
Wow.
They interviewed him for the news. They had a huge newspaper article. He was this huge hero, and I say that because there's such a stigma about addicts.
Yes.
And here is my son, still only 2 months clean. He's over here saving this, this family, and so. The thing that was important, and I say this every time too, was unfortunate, is we could not believe one more thing had happened. We hadn't even recuperated from the 2 things, and here comes a third. And, he deserved a lot more credit, even though the news and, the newspaper, we got a lot of texts and calls and stuff, of course. But yeah, he deserved a lot for doing that, especially at the time. You know what I mean? It was an amazing thing that he did. And so, unfortunately, and again, I know we probably said, you can't relapse over this, but I was not worried about that time as a mother. I didn't think he would relapse over this wreck. For some reason, I don't know why. But we said, you can't relapse. And he's like, I won't. And I knew when we got to the hospital, because he literally told him, I can't have any narcotics because I'm a recovering heroin addict. And so I knew that he was, you know what I mean? He
was in a good spot.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so we got through that. I had to say goodbye to my husband's baby truck, which again, we just keep saying goodbye to things, right? And on October 24th, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, 3 months after my husband died.
Man, talk about a bang, 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 and bang.
Right.
Jeez almighty.
Horrifying when I said traumas. And they are all unbelievable traumas.
Yeah.
Physical and emotional traumas. I don't remember a lot, and my kids laugh at me because they have to say, Mom, do you remember this? And I don't. I think as soon as I heard breast cancer, I was done. I couldn't do one more thing. I could not take one more thing. My brain, you know what I mean? I dealt with the bare minimum of what I needed to. You know what I mean? And when you hear cancer, we talk about cancer so nonchalantly until you have cancer, you know, and it just is this, you know, and, you know, my husband's dead. It was just horrifying. And so I was at work, which is another horrifying, and I called her. She was amazing, as she always is. You know, I know she was devastated, but she was strong for me. You know, I think they knew, like, oh my God, Mom, we don't want her to fall apart, and we certainly don't want her to die, you know. So she was amazing, as always. I said, you know what, Mom, we're strong, we're going to get through this, everything's going to be okay. And I drove home, and I don't remember driving home, which is not a good thing, but, you know, I had to get home. I wasn't thinking clearly, and I walked in my house, and my son lives with me, and I went in his room, and he knew something wasn't right, because I never go in his room. Nobody goes into a 25-year-old's room, God. And I sat on the bed, and he definitely knew something was not right, and he probably could see. I don't know what I looked like, but I can't imagine it was good. And I just looked at him, and I said, I have to tell you something, and he knew. And I said, I have breast cancer. And he said, of course you fucking do. And he just started venting.
Wow.
I mean, he went to fight. You know, when you hear these things, people go to fight or flight. It's just the way it is in these moments. And I just let him vent for as long as he needed to. And I just sat there because I was like, I get it. Except I went to flight, which is unusual for me. But, and then, you know, I looked at him and I just said, you know what, Tanner, you cannot relapse over that. And that was the time I was most worried that he would relapse, that this was the final thing, you know?
Yeah.
My mother has, you know, like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Heroin would be, in fact, I was thinking, God, I want to use heroin at this point. I mean, I don't, but I could see the charm of it, numbing.
Yeah, of course.
I absolutely got it. But I just told him, you know, Tanner, you can't relapse. You know, you live with me. Your dad's gone. You can see I'm physically and emotionally just gone. You know, that my doctors were even so worried about me because, you know, what had happened and how I looked. And so he just looked at me and he said, you know what, Mom, I won't. And the way he looked at me, I just knew for some reason. And we just sat there and hugged for a really long time, cried. Both of us cried. He doesn't cry very often. And so we got through that, you know, surgery, radiation, doing all that. And, you know, thank God he lives with me. That would have been a night to have move in with her, I guess. Because you can't have breast cancer surgery and be alone. I mean, there's just things that you can't do, you know, when all this has happened. And I was not in a good place. I'll just tell you, by this and by the time that was over, I was not in a good place at all.
You know, and with you saying that, Christy, if I can interrupt just for a second. And I think we've said this on the show quite a few times before, that, you know, if there's a health issue, people will be there for you. You know, family will be there for you. Friends will be there for you, especially something like that. My aunt was diagnosed with breast cancer quite a few years, and thank goodness she's been in remission now, I think, for 2 or 3 years. Very grateful. But we had somebody on our show from USARA with the family support group with Kraft, and, you know, she was saying that if I told my friends and neighbor that my son had cancer, they'd be, what can we do? What can we do? Because you need that support group, like you just said. But she goes, if I would have told my friends and family that my son was battling heroin addiction, just like your son and your brother, she goes, no one would be knocking on my door bringing me casseroles.
No, they don't.
Yep.
And they need that support too. But we don't really know how to give support to somebody that has an illness like cancer or something like that. We do our best to, hold them or say everything's going to be okay and things like that. We'll pray for you. Why the heck doesn't that happen when it comes to the addiction part of things, because those guys are going through a lot of deep shit too.
I'm going to say
right?
Judgment. People judge addiction because they don't understand it. They don't think it's a disease, so they're judging it. Nobody judges cancer or heart. My husband died from an infection in his heart. Nobody said, "Oh my God, your husband's a scum because he died from a heart." Right?
Yeah,
right.
exactly right.
And as you say that, I never suffered in silence. From the moment I found out Tanner was a heroin addict, I shared. I never hid it, and I was never ashamed of it. I never thought he was a horrible person because of it. We were very open about it the entire time. So people knew when I said this time, my God, Tanner, they were very supportive. And then certainly as all these things were happening to us, the addiction, my husband's death, the car wreck, breast cancer in 4 months, people were very supportive, and they were amazingly very supportive with Tanner. How's Tanner doing?
That's great.
And we got it a lot because I think people knew, like we did, their triggers. This is a horrifying, for us just to hear. And so I don't know if the difference is because everybody knew for a really long time, like 8 or 10 years, we've been talking about, because I never hid that he was a heroin addict, ever. At work, I told people, like, my son's a heroin. I didn't have anything to feel bad about. And so I don't know if that's the difference, that people already had absorbed it for years. You know what I mean? Or they wouldn't dare say something about my son either to me. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, it wouldn't go over well.
Well, especially with a mama bear, because they're so protective of their kids, and
if you ask my kids, I was brutal. I was a brutal mother. And nobody messed with my kids, even for whatever reason, And so I don't think people would have dared say, like, Tanner's a scum or anything. They just wouldn't have, knowing the wrath that would have come from me, too. Because I was very protective from the second they were born. Even if it's addiction or whatever it is,
Yeah.
And so I think that may be the difference, that it wasn't a big shock, And it came with so many other traumas that addiction kind of, they would ask, "Oh my God, how's Tanner?" But then they would be like, "Oh my God, how are you doing? Your husband died. You have breast cancer." It's horrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It kind of went from addiction when, Tanner was doing so good,
Well, and in such a short period of time to
4
have
months.
all those things happen to you,
Mm-hmm.
My gosh, tip my hat to Tanner, because
Right. That's why
that could have tipped anybody over the edge. It could have started, you guys could have changed in that. You could have turned to alcohol or something for yourselves because of everything that was happening. Because, it's not like people who are have an addiction or alcoholics, and we've said this many times, it's not like they wake up one day and just go, "I'm going to be an addict."
Right.
There's something that kind of happens in between there, but it's so easy because any of us could have stepped in those same shoes, especially when you've got all that crap happening in your life. I just can't imagine. Charity shared a little bit. Her show comes out on Monday, but go ahead.
Yeah. My story, the more that happened, the further down that spiral I went. I went from having some awareness that, this could be an ugly path to full-blown in that hole. And I'm in awe right now. I'm in awe of your willingness of family to be open, to allow the emotions. These are things that are coming up. You had the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back, and you all could have gone a completely different way.
Right.
And I tip my hat to you. That's amazing. Serious kudos.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, when I healed, I did drink a lot, but I wasn't an addict, so I could just stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
and so, I was like, I drank like every Friday after I got off work, and I was like, I'm good. And, and I didn't keep drinking, you know what I mean? And
I think that's where some of us who are on the other side, a part that we don't understand, and it took me a long period of time to get there, to know just that little bit about it, because I used to tell my wife too, just stop. You know, because
just say no. Yeah.
Because I could have a few drinks on the weekend or whatever, and you know, then I was good. But it's like I was explaining to somebody, you know, one time, and I think I've said it on the show, that if I had a bad day at work or whatever, I could say on the way home, you know what, I'm going to go home and I'm going to have a beer, or I'm going to have me a cocktail. Then by the time I get home, it's like, yeah, not really. I'm not interested. You know, I'm just going to have water or a pop or whatever. But someone who has that addiction state, that finger's constantly bouncing on their head going, no. Don't say no. You need this. You really, really need this, because you got to chill. You got to calm down. And so that battle inside their head, it's like that good angel, bad angel. You know, it's constantly going.
Well, it's like it's a constant, you know, for me, it's kind of like a wiretap, you know, that something was always pressing that nerve because I had found relief in it. And once I found that relief and it tapped that nervous system, my nervous system was like, no, this is the way. This is the way. You need to do this. And I didn't want to. By all means, I didn't want to.
Right.
There was so much shame in it when I went down that spiral, because I didn't just have a cocktail or two. I went full blown. For me, it was drinking water, you know, and I'm just in awe.
I know.
I'm in awe right now.
Yeah.
We get that every time, because it is an unbelievably amazing story, and the fact that we do it so positively, and we do this, people are really surprised and grateful.
Well, I would hope that they would be, because it's people like yourself, especially as a family, to come together. I mean, Lori Parks and her daughter, Lindsay, you know, I mean, they're doing the same thing, because the more of us that are out here sharing these stories and our experience, hopefully that's what we're praying for, that people will start realizing. You said it earlier, the stigma. You know, Lori mentioned it last week. She's sick of the stigma. I mean, you know, I think all of us here that do this show, we're sick of the stigma, because people think that there's something wrong, you know, with somebody that has an addiction, like they're screwed up in the head. No, they're not screwed up in the head. I mean,
it's a complex brain disease, absolutely.
Yeah, but you know, how many people that would go through what you guys have gone through as a family in such a short period of time, 4 months? Right. How many of you listening to this story would have your shit together? I mean, serious.
And that weren't addicts.
Yeah, that weren't addicts.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, you could, I mean, it's especially for your son, for Tanner, to be able to hold off.
Right.
And
just say he was strong enough to just get through all of that and just not use. Yeah. And it is pretty amazing, because I said, like, I wanted to numb. Yeah. By the end, I was like, I don't even care. But, you know, I had 2 children. You know, I didn't really want to die, but I didn't really care about taking, you know, you just, I understood why Tanner wanted to numb at that moment. And I told him, I get it, Tanner. Yeah. I don't like opioids, so it would never been my choice. I don't love them. But I understood it for the first time. I was like, I don't care anymore. Yeah. And I have to. But it was, you know, and I'm sure we all hit that point where we were like, we can't do this anymore. There had to have been moments when she said, I don't care about it. This is just horrifying. Yeah. And Tanner, he ended up being the strong one, I think, for us, you know, because he had to fight needing to use or wanting to use.
He was fighting bigger battles.
Fighting, you know, because he lives with me, you know, taking care of me and Nikki, because he, you know, loves us. I mean, we're very, very close. We were close as a family before all this happened, which is, thank God, a small miracle. Yeah.
So even before this 4 months came up, and Nikki, I'd like to hear some of your parts on this too, but those 4 months, there was so much that was happening, but while you guys were trying to be the support group also for Tanner during the depths of his addiction, that eats at you pretty heavy. We were talking a little bit about that before the show. I mean, for me, it took me down a dark road. You know, one JD, who's here a lot of times, he mentioned it. He's like, Al, you were addicted to your wife's addiction. You know, did you guys kind of find yourselves? I mean, this is your brother that you love and care about, you know, and I can't imagine how hard it was for you to see somebody that you love destroying themselves right in front of you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
And it was hard because I was kind of the first one that knew something was off. I obviously didn't know that he was using heroin, but I could tell that he was off. We were close when we were growing up. We hung out with similar friends, and so I kind of confronted him like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, oh, nothing. I just drink a little bit, or, you know, like kind of just playing it off, which a lot of addicts do because it's really in depth and they're not willing to go there. And so he kind of played it off as that, and I kind of just let him know, like, I know something else is going on, and I want you to know that I'm aware of it, so you know that this isn't going to be forever. Like, we need to work towards something to help whatever is going on. And I had kind of told my parents, and they're like, oh, no way. There, you know, nothing really is going on. Because I think it's easy now to say, like, oh, yeah, well, with addiction, you just know. But we were talking with a lady named Chelsea, and she said, but people on the outside don't know. They don't just know. You don't know everything about addiction.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where we were at, is we kind of know, but we don't know. And so we kind of just went along, and I started to have a little bit of a fear of my brother, which was kind of sad to be in that, because I was nervous about his behaviors and the friends that he was around and the things that he was doing. I felt uncomfortable, and that was sad for me to be in that position, to feel uncomfortable around my brother. You know, we're super close, we had a great relationship, but it started to change that relationship quite a bit. And I would worry about things like, I hope he doesn't die on my birthday. I hope, you know, we're able to do these things as a family, because I felt like something bad was going on.
Yeah.
And then we found some needles in his room, and at that point it was kind of the tipping point, because you can't really mask that too much, because obviously you're doing something. And so that's when he checked into rehab for the first time, and that was the most eye-opening for me, because I was able to go visit him the first week that he was there, and he'd only been there for maybe 5 days. And I walked into the room where all the families were visiting, and he was just sitting in there waiting. And when I saw him, it was like my little brother that I had grown up with. I just saw that raw child in there just needing someone to love him. And that is where I kind of gained empathy for people struggling with addiction, because I think, you know, masking, you know, drugs, alcohol, whatever you're using, I feel like that can change you as a person. And you're mostly just caring about when you can get your next drink, when you can get your next fix, or things like that.
Yeah.
But to be able to see that mask taken off and the person behind the addiction still there, that is very eye-opening and a beautiful thing to see, because just because someone is struggling with an addiction or has struggled with an addiction doesn't mean that that is who they are.
Yeah. And I love that you said that, because it's true. It's not who they are. Yes, thank you. Because you know, when I was doing my best to help my wife, which I was doing it completely wrong, but that's all I knew.
We all do,
you
it
know.
wrong. There's no right or wrong.
You know, seeing this woman that was being as evil as she was when she was under the influence, and I'm going, I know this is not who this person is, you know. And there were times that I saw my wife when I'd go and visit her at rehabs, almost in that same way you saw your brother, where, I mean, literally I would melt again, and just, I mean, I've got goosebumps just thinking about it, because it's like, oh my gosh. You know, you just want to go up and just give them a huge hug and say how much you love them. And it's because you see that. But I also learned after a long period of time, and I'm not saying it was this way with your brother, but my wife was still in that addict mindset. Even though she maybe had been in rehab for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, she still had that manipulative way of drawing me back in. And I think she's even shared it, it's because she was like, I can't wait to get out of here. So even though she didn't want to, and she tried not to, but within a 24, 48 hour period, she was drinking again, you know, and it kind of draws you in. But, and I'm sure you have seen this with your son and your brother. And I think I even mentioned to Charity with where she's at going through things, and you start seeing a change. Now, Charity and I, we haven't known each other for a long period of time. We've only known each other for what, 5 months, 6 months, maybe less than that. I lose track of time so easy.
Yeah, so 7 months.
7 months, but
in person.
In person, yeah. And so I told her a couple of weeks ago, I think she came in the studio, and I'm like, I'm seeing something different about you. And I've seen that in my wife as well. I'm seeing this whole new human being breaking out of their shell and becoming somebody completely new. But it was just that support and that love that they were needing. I know you want to say something, right?
I do. First of all, thank you. I love that you mentioned seeing that little boy, and I resonate so deeply with that, because for me, I was that little girl that just needed to be seen, heard, validated as a human being, as worthy, as valuable. And that's all my addiction really was, is that little girl just screaming out, see me, I'm hurting, see me. And the fact that you could see that and embrace that, and that it hit you the way it did, is so admirable.
Yeah.
Like, I just love you for that. I love you so much, because my little girl's going, she gets it. You know, and we don't talk about so many of these aspects, I think, because it's so true, because an addict is not this terrible, horrible person. Right. We have this conditioning where we villainize them, and we villainize somebody when they're behaving a certain way. And it's not the person, it's the behavior that we need to address and say, where is this really coming into play? What's really happening? Because there's something deep in. And it does, you know, for me, it went back to that little girl. And it's just powerful when you can see someone in a different way. Well,
and again, I got to keep elaborating on it. It is great that you saw that, because my wife's sister came to visit her one time when she was at rehab. And I'm just going to say, because this is how the hell I feel, I think she just came just to see what a rehab is like. What's my sister doing, and what's it like here, because she's so curious. Instead of seeing what you saw with your brother, I remember she asked my wife, so have they fixed you yet? My wife came on frickin' court, and she's like, fix me. I'm not broken. You know, that's how she was seeing it, because that's how the majority of the outsiders see it.
I'm not a puzzle that needs to be put together. I'm not
Humpty Dumpty. You know?
I didn't fall off the wall. You know?
And usually I always say that at the end of the story, the one thing that we are so great at, no matter what, is separating the addict from the person, especially when they're going through recovery. We know addicts do horrible things. We've heard horrifying stories. We're talking human trafficking. Horrifying stories. But when you look at that person and who they are today, that's not who they are. So we all have to remember that that's not who that person is. And we are so good at that with Tanner. We are just great. We know he did these horrible things, and now he's this amazing child brother we love more than anything right now. And he's going to deal with that. He's got the guilt, the the shame, all that crap. He doesn't need that coming from us. Yeah. That's going to drive you right back to relapse. Why would you stay clean? And we never throw anything in his face. We never ask what he did. He shares with us if he wants to. That's one thing we were so good at that we did right. Because we did a lot, everybody does what they think. And Tanner will tell us all the time that is second only to getting the tools to stay clean. That keeps him clean is how amazing we are as his support. And we don't shame him or judge him because it's not my place to anyway. I don't know why people think they get to judge addiction. I don't want my mistakes thrown in my face every day. No. I'm going, oh my God. And so we are really, really great at that. And we really talk about that a lot when we're, talking to people, because a lot of people can't get past the addict part of them, even when they're in recovery. And it's horrifying.
Yeah.
You've got to get past that, because these people, my son needed us so desperately, and then we needed him so desperately. If we were sitting there saying, oh my God, you're such a scum, you robbed something, or whatever he did, why would he stay clean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Why would you, and so we really, really try and tell people that you've got to try and get past that. And it's not your shame. It's not your guilt. I didn't do anything to Tanner.
Yeah.
Why am I shaming him or guilting him or throwing it in his face? It wasn't my issue. I didn't do anything to him. You know what I mean? And even if something happened, you have to get over that. Even if like say I don't know, did something that was a trigger or a trauma for him,
mm-hmm.
I have to get over that, because my child needs me to get past that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get past it. We got to all forgive ourselves, and we all got to move on, no matter what that is. In our instance, we didn't have that, but it's very important to us, and we talk about that a lot, and we show it. People see it when we do these shows, when they talk to us, when they see us out and about. They would never ever believe Tanner is a heroin addict, a recovering heroin addict, ever.
Yeah. Well, and it's because they're seeing that inside that came out of the shell.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to something the other day, and I can't remember who it was, but they mentioned an egg. They're like, you see an egg, and it's just an egg. And an egg comes in all kinds of different colors and shapes and different things like that. It's just a frickin' egg. It's got a hard shell around it. But when it's time, and we don't ever know when it's time, but when that, whatever is inside that egg starts coming out, it's something very beautiful, something very cute or precious. And I'm like, gosh, that's kind of how addiction is. Somebody is wrapped up in this shell, and we're so busy looking at that flippin' shell and not seeing mm-hmm. what's inside. Because I used to put my wife down all the time with some of the stuff that she was doing, and I would throw it at her all the time. I mean, I was picking up wads of crap and poop, take that, poop, take that,
And stop drinking while you're at it.
Stop drinking at your
stop drinking while I'm abusing you. Yeah. Right, please, right.
And what I was doing is I was doing my best to make her feel as guilty as shit, mm-hmm. because I wanted her to know how bad I was hurting inside. Mm-hmm. I'm going to make you feel like you're a piece of shit. And all I was doing was pissing fuel on the fire, because she already felt like she was a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that's the point. Mm-hmm.
And that's where a lot of us do this stuff wrong. Mm-hmm. For you guys to get it as quick as you did, again,
I'm
tip my hat.
Just in awe.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I'm in the presence of greatness here.
And no, it's much easier to say it now. I mean, we were really good at it, but we didn't have a lot to do with him when he was using heavily, and he didn't want to be around. Addicts generally don't want to be around sober people or their families when they're using. So he moved out the first time. We didn't see him for a long time. So it was really easy. I mean, it wasn't easy because, as a mother, your first instinct is to protect your child no matter how old they get. And I knew he was slowly killing himself, and it was devastating to me that I couldn't. I mean, I still take little like Valentines to my kids. They're 29 and 20. I mean, that's how, with my children, they mean everything to me. And I could do nothing to him except not enable and not be around him as much and do whatever the first time. I didn't do as good the second time, but that's another story.
Yeah.
Enabling. Anyway, so, we didn't have that, like you were living with her. We weren't living with Tanner the first time. And so, but I never threw it in his face. I mean, we very rarely said anything if he came to the house, and and so
it had to be hard, because it was hard for me. I would tell myself, okay, if I come home and she's drunk, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. That lasted all but probably 30 seconds.
Right.
Yeah. Never mind, I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah, never mind. Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah, put that on the list. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
And we never threw it in his face. We knew he was using heroin, and it was horrifying. First of all, we didn't heroin. Who goes to heroin? I mean, in our day, it was like cocaine and stuff. I mean,
pot.
meth and,
yeah, maybe some mushrooms, maybe acid every once in a while.
Heroin. Who goes to heroin? God. Well, it was shocking for us. We were like, me and my husband were like, heroin? Wow. Anyway.
I think it's shocking for other people too, and that's where part of the stigma comes from. Because when you hear like Tanner is a heroin addict, then you're like, oh wow, he must be bad because he found heroin and he's using heroin. Mm-hmm. How do you just, how do you get to heroin? Right. But kind of like we talked about earlier, it's not like he woke up and he was like, wow, my dream and aspiration isn't to be a doctor, it is to be a heroin addict.
Right.
That is where I see myself and I envision myself. It doesn't just come from that. And addicts don't just jump into it thinking, this is where I would like to be, in the thralls of addiction, struggling to do anything besides feeding my addiction.
Yeah.
And when you can kind of think of it that way versus just, you're awful because you're just drunk every time I come home, then you can kind of start to dig through that and learn about addiction and figure it out, versus just putting a stamp on it like heroin addict, not good, just put him in the corner and we're not going to deal with it, because it's easier to not deal with it.
Well, amen. That's exactly what happens.
Right. And drugs and alcohol, think about it, have a worse stigma. If someone says they have a sex addiction or a food addiction, they're not judged as harshly. Drugs and alcohol are far more than gambling, sex, food. Now social media, they're adding. But you don't hear people saying all this horrible stuff. But you mention alcohol or some sort of drug, they're the scum of the world. Yeah. But if you're addicted to, I don't know, having sex, I can see that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah.
There is a different category for it. There is, and it's very clear.
Yeah, the chemical reaction that's occurring, no matter what.
Right.
That's where I was going.
Same.
Absolutely.
You were reading my mind.
It's the exact same thing, but the people go to drugs and alcohol, and they cannot think of it the same way as they do the other addictions. Yep. And this is the problem. The stigma of drugs and alcohol as your addiction.
Yep.
Yes.
Because I tell you what, and we're going to go to a quick commercial break, but I tell you what, whether it is sex or porn or eating or gambling or gaming, families, it destroys families and relationships just like the drug and alcohol. It may not go as far as deep, but it is still there, because we had somebody on our show that shared his porn addiction for 2 decades, and everything he said, I mean, it was destroying family, his relationship with his wife, so people, if you think it's just because of drugs and alcohol,
no,
all these other addictions, it frickin' destroys everything just like the drugs and alcohol. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. Guys, stay with us. We'll be right back.
How do you start your morning? Start it with a cup of High Point coffee. Because no matter where you go, what you do. It's always better with coffee. High Point Coffee. What's your high point? Located on the corner of 7800 South and Redwood Road in West Jordan. And a special thanks goes out to our partners in Oxford, Mississippi.
This is Gregory, owner of Lift Up Concrete, proudly serving the Wasatch Front for the last 12 years, lifting sunken flatwork for both residential and commercial applications. Only fully trained professionals lifting concrete at your residence with the same quality of material and method used at every commercial job we ever do. Don't replace it, lift it. liftupconcrete.net, 801-792-4535. Contact us at liftupconcrete.net, or if you're looking for a complimentary quote, 801-792-4535. Again, 801-792-4535. Again, this is Gregory, Lift Up Concrete Lifting.
Hello, my friends. This is Brad Neufeld, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the Resilience Talk Network. You can listen to my show, Resilience, every morning, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. On my show, we will be discussing what it takes for you to overcome the day-to-day challenges that all of us face in life, as well as some of the devastating ones that may lead us to feelings of hopelessness and despair. It's my goal to provide you with the tools and skills that you need to overcome anything that is thrown your way. To find out more about my show, visit our website at www.resiliencetalk.com. That's www.resiliencetalk.com. And as always, until we meet again, go for everything that you want in life and make it happen.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the other side of addiction. Gosh, the first half of the show is phenomenal, like they always are. Again, I don't think we've had a bad show yet. I mean, because everything's just good. Hey, before we get started, we want to say thank you. Thank you to our listeners. Thank you so much, guys. You are helping us grow. We are just all blessed and grateful where this is going. I didn't think that when we started this back in March would be where we're at today. And we've had new people come in and join the family, like Charity, and we've had JD, and we've got some new things that we're working on, and just big excitement. But and also thank you to Brad with Resilience Talk Network. Thank you, Brad, for opening up your arms in your studio to allow us to come in here and get this message out. I'm very blessed to have you. Also want to say thank you to one of our newest sponsors, Rick Heaton, attorney at law, personal injury. Now, I know this guy really well because he's been married to my daughter, I think, for like 13 years now. This guy will definitely take care of you. They're a small outfit. So if you guys get in an accident, which I hope you don't, but if something happens, please reach out to us. And his commercial will be coming on too. His commercials will be coming on. We're working on that right now to where you'll have all his contact information. We want to say thank you to Refiner Productions Camera in Austin out there as well. They're the ones who've done some of our videos. They're doing Mallory's video. They've been working with her. They do awesome work. So if you guys got a wedding or birthday or any kind of special thing or a podcast, who knows what it is, reach out to these guys because they have a way of telling your story, which they're just great. Also want to say thank you to Taffy Town out in West Jordan, 100-year-old company here in West Jordan, third generation. These guys got more taffy flavors than it'd take me an hour to name them all. So we'll pass on that. Also, my good friends out at USARA, Utah Support Advocates of Recovery Awareness. Thank you guys for all your support. Evan, Tiffany, Darlene, I mean, there's so many people out there that are there to help our loved ones who are battling with addiction, and they just do a great job. My good friends Letitia and Kevin over at Computer Hospital on 8721 South State in Sandy. If you guys have an issue with your computer, your laptop, or whatever it may be, or if you're looking for a new one, I highly recommend those guys. And huge thank you to High Point Coffee. Steve's the one that he was our first sponsor that came in to help get this trainer rolling, and it has been rolling. So thank you guys. And also Lift Up Concrete out of Kaysville, our good friends Gregory and Tosh out there, and Brad with Surf Pro, West Jordan. But we're going to say thank you to all the Surf Pros from Ogden all the way down to St. George. That list just keeps getting longer. We got more, but we'll thank them at the second commercial. So everybody, thank you again. And again, Christy and Nikki, thank you for taking time out of your morning to come and spend with Charity and I and be on this show and share your story. You guys have got some great stuff that you shared, earlier. One thing that we were talking about during the break, which I think is pretty good to touch on because I am guilty as hell of it, and that's enabling my wife, and we do that thinking we're doing the right thing, and it's because we care and love about the person who is battling the addiction, not knowing that we're just hurting the situation, right? I mean, you guys found out the same type of thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, my son should be dead because, and again, I really was in denial. I was like, he's not using, I swear, I kept looking, and I'm telling you, I was in horrible denial, until I saw the needles that day, and thank God it saved his life, because he would maybe not be alive one more day if he should have been dead that day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And luckily for us, and I'm going to let her talk about enabling, because I was not, Tanner's rock bottom is very high. A lot of addicts will live on the streets and do all these things. Tanner, as soon as I threw him out, he was going to get clean.
That was his rock bottom.
Oh, his rock bottom is very much higher than a lot of addiction stories that we hear, thank God. Wow. He would never have lived in his car, lived on the street. And then he couldn't go to my mother-in-law. I mean, there was no place. Nobody was going to take him in. Once I said, okay, we're done, and I threw him out, that was it.
But that takes a lot for you as a mom to do that, because it took a lot horrifying for me to throw my wife out, because my greatest fear was when I finally kicked her out, she was so hammered. My greatest fear was that I was going to get a call from the cops saying that they found her dead. She was naked because she had been raped, or because she would be so damn drunk. There's no way she'd be able to fight off anybody. Right. No way. And especially if there was more than one. They could have grabbed her and locked her ass up somewhere in a house and had their way with her for who knows how long. And that was always my greatest fear. So kudos to you,
It was very hard, but I was so mad at that moment. I just went to fight. I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. I've been defending you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I was just like, again, it really was my issue, but I kind of took it out on him. I didn't handle it well, but when I talked about it in rehab, Doug told me, you know what, Christy? Tanner's fucking alive. It doesn't matter how you did it. Your child is alive. Yeah. Because I was screaming at him on the phone. I was like, don't come back to this house. I don't ever want to see you again. I'm getting an alarm. I got an alarm. I put those little 2x2 things in the window so he couldn't get in. I said, don't ever talk to me again. I mean, I just literally went to fight. And I said, don't ever come to this house again. I don't ever want to see you again. And that was horrifying for me, because I absolutely cherish my children.
Of course you do.
And, but Mad just took over that he was using it. Why would you use heroin again? And so when I got to done, it was pretty done. And I knew, this is what I knew too. He called me, he's like, I just want to come home and get clean. And I said, Tanner, do you think I'm an idiot? You can't come home and get clean. You know where Doug is. Go. So I knew enough from the first time that I didn't fall for the I just want to come home and get clean, because I said, you know where Doug is, and he was up in rehab within 20 minutes. And and Doug just said, oh, I'm so glad he's like, I'm so glad you're here, Tanner. He just hugged him. and said, I'm so glad you're here. Because he'd drive by our house and he didn't see Tanner's car for 3 days. And he said, I knew. He said, I knew. And he said, I was so grateful when I saw that kid.
That's cool.
But it almost cost him his life. So I'm now very, like, don't enable. I know it's really hard. You know, don't be in denial. Don't enable. It's hard. But I did it.
Yeah.
Nikki's like, yeah, it was horrifying. Because they kept telling me, too.
So how was it like for you? I mean, it sounds like you may have gotten a bigger grasp on it.
So the second time, well, we'll go third time Tanner relapsed.
The fifth time. The last time.
I didn't live with them anymore. I got married right before he went to rehab the first time. So then I was kind of an outsider. And as an outsider, you kind of have a different perspective. Because it was easier for me because I wasn't allowing him to live in my house. I wasn't giving him money for dinner.
Yeah.
Or, those type of things. But one of his friends actually called me and said, hey, I just want you to know I am 100% confident that Tanner is using heroin again. And I was like, why? They didn't say that, this was going to happen. We already did rehab. We should just be good to go,
We didn't know about relapse.
I thought we were just good to go.
Go to rehab and you're cured, right?
We didn't understand relapse, right?
Yes. And so I had let my mom and dad know, hey, Tanner's friend had reached out and he said, Tanner's using again. And my mom, she said, no, he looks great. He's doing good. Everything's okay. One thing I think is they learn certain things to hide or behaviorisms to, not let out to
what
family.
To say, how to say it, how to show up.
Yes. And so he was more in that spot. So it was kind of hard for my mom. And I think it's hard to know that once you accept that he had relapsed, you get to start over.
Right.
We get to do all of this again.
Yeah.
We graduated from rehab and we weren't addicts. So, you kind of just have to grasp the concept of we're right back at ground zero.
Feels like Groundhog Day, right?
Exactly.
You're doing the same shit all over
Only
again.
it's horrifying.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I thought we were
horrifying.
done.
Yeah, we thought we were done.
And so I think not quite having to just grasp that and dive in, it's a little bit easier to stand on that ground versus jump in and have to go again.
Yeah.
And so like she was saying, she just was kind of like, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. It wasn't, I'm 100% confident he's not, but I don't think so. And then things had to kind of get bad. And that, I think that's hard for people because it's hard, like you were saying, how do I put someone that I love really dearly into a situation where I don't know if they will be safe. I don't know if they'll be okay. I don't know if they'll come out of this okay.
Yeah. You don't even know if it's the last time you're going to see them alive.
Exactly.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
You know,
heroin addicts don't live a real long life.
No.
27 if they're lucky. I mean, and yeah, it was horrifying. And then you're mad. You're really mad. Like she said, like we graduated, except we didn't learn about relapsing as good as we should. We do now. We get relapse is part of addiction, not recovery. Very clear there. It's part of the addiction process, and people need to be aware. Very few people get it right the first time, and you have to be aware of those things. And I'm telling you, it was horrifying for us. We were just like, no, Tanner. And again, you're just thinking, I can't do this again. Tanner, why are you doing this to us?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this to us? Well, he wasn't doing it to us, but when you don't understand the process, that's where you go. I was mad. Why are you doing this to us?
Why would you go back to
that horrible life?
Right. You've been clean for 2 years and you know what this is like, but then you wanted to get back into that, which and he'll say that's not what it was. It was, I was at a pool party drinking with some friends. They wanted me to smoke marijuana with them. I thought it would be fine. And then the next week I was doing heroin. So, you know, you went from 0 to 100
because of his brain, right?
Really quick.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that happens a lot of times with addicts. I can't speak for an addict. I'm not an addict, but I would highly doubt that any of them are deliberately doing this or relapsing or going back into their addiction to be malicious because they want to get back at you. You know, that's just not something that you just will use to throw in somebody's face. Right. That is something that they are struggling with. And, you know, it's continuous. And Tanner will say every single day, I wake up and I choose to not do heroin. I have to choose every single day. So when you can understand, even after a relapse, when you can understand that that is still a struggle. Mm-hmm. He's not just 100%, I never think about it, I don't have to worry about my addiction. He wakes up and chooses every single day that he's not going to use heroin that day.
Right.
So he's committed to one day of not using heroin, day after day.
For 41 months.
And that's when you can kind of start to see, it's eye-opening that these people are struggling. They are struggling, trapped inside of their addiction. And if we can do one thing to help them, one thing to make a difference in their life, their addiction, their struggle, why wouldn't you? Why would you not do something to help them?
Yeah.
Because there's no cure for addiction.
Well, and
there's not a pill or anything.
No, there isn't.
There's not a cure. You got tools, you have support, they have all this stuff, but there isn't a cure. Like breast cancer. I don't have breast cancer anymore. There's a cure.
Yeah.
There's a cure for, there's no cure for addiction. And I would say it's a more horrifying disease than anyone I've dealt with. Cancer, my husband had a bad heart. I'm telling you, learning about addiction, it just is. It's unbelievable.
A battle that the majority of it, well, us on the other side, that we don't have a clue. We had a gal on a show from Matter. Matter of fact, we're going down and touring their facility at Mount Pleasant this Wednesday. But when I was meeting her and Jackie for coffee, she said, "Let me put it to you this way." She goes, "What if I gave you a box of laxatives, told you to go home and eat this whole box, and then I wanted you to do everything you could not to shit your pants?"
Right. Right.
Okay. Basically, she goes, "No, basically, this is what it's like." Right. She goes, "You would be sitting there just going like this."
Horrifying.
Well, that's what an addict's doing. Mm-hmm. When they are trying to beat this addiction and trying to keep themselves clean, right. It's white knuckling for them. Mm-hmm. And it is a struggle. And we get to where us on the other side, we think about ourselves. You said it, and I said it to my wife many, many times. You love that alcohol more than you love me. And she'd be like, "No, I don't." It's like, the hell if you don't. It
seems like you do.
But
then why are you doing this?
I was thinking of me. I wasn't thinking of what was going on inside her. Mm-hmm. The struggle she was going through. Right. Once you start realizing that and start opening your eyes to what you've said it many times on the show, it wasn't about me.
It wasn't about me ever.
Not once, but we seem to take that, and then of course that's where we end up doing the enabling and different things like that. But it's not easy.
As human beings, you just make it about you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like, my husband died, it was about someone else. I mean, amazingly, no matter what it is, and again, addiction is a big one, just because I made it about me with my child because I was so mad. But people tend to make it about them for some reason. I think it's just a human I know how, and I'm not saying it in a bad way. You personalize. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm like, this isn't about you. You know what I mean? And so that's a really, really great thing for support people to understand as well. Don't sit there and again, I didn't do it good, but my son's alive. So, if you save someone's life, whatever you did was enough or right at that moment. And that's what Doug said. There's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah, well put.
Yelling isn't the best, but your son's alive.
Yeah.
You didn't let him back in the house. You told him to come here. You know, so, and there's not one method that works for everybody. It just,
That's so
and it's
true.
a horrifying thing to figure it out because you're hiding it. He wasn't telling me, oh, I want to quit using, and he did. He really did. And
most addicts do want to quit.
And he was so, I think he was so grateful after he got over the, oh my God, my mother hates my guts. Because that's what he thought. My mother hates me. She will never talk to me again because I was mad. And so they are afraid to say, oh, I'm using, can I get help? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we need to, you know, I would have much rather had Tanner tell me 7 months earlier, Mom, I'm using, can I get some help? Instead of me going to this fit of rage where I'm getting an alarm, I'm saying these disgusting things to my baby child that I love more than anything. Does he think I liked that?
Yeah.
I didn't like that, Christy, either, but I couldn't stop it. Just like he couldn't stop using, I couldn't stop.
Amen, because I couldn't stop either.
I only did it once.
Yeah.
I only had to do it once, but yeah, it's an amazing thing, addiction from both sides, and support people are struggling just as bad, just a different way, and we're not numbing ourselves.
Yeah.
You're sitting there, you know, one person uses, but the whole family suffers. You know, we never didn't love Tanner. We didn't love the behavior, like you said, and we weren't going to be around him. But we never didn't love him. And like she said, I mean, we were having conversations like we knew he was getting so bad, you know, who's going to go identify his body? Because addicts don't have ID. Somebody's going to come and think that, oh, this might be Tanner Chavez.
Yeah.
You know, who's going to go identify his body? How horrifying. Those are the conversations we're having. Are we going to bury him? Are we going to cremate him? What are we going to do? Talking about your baby child.
Yeah.
You know, so we struggle on this side too. So we understand the struggling part of addiction. It's just we're not the numbing part using it, but everybody's struggling when you're in addiction, and it's okay to say that.
It is.
God.
It is. It's okay to feel it.
Right.
mean, I was visiting my wife's mom. She passed a year ago, February, but just a great lady. She lost her husband due to a heroin overdose.
Oh, God.
Okay. I remember I was visiting. I went to go see her once when Jeananne, she was in a rehab, and I went to go tell her, hey, you know, this is what's going on. Your daughter started using again, started drinking in a bad way. And what she said floored me. And when I told my wife this, I finally got to a point where I told her what her mom had told me. And I remember she put her hand on mine and she goes, maybe she would just be better off dead. Now, this is a mom talking about her daughter, and her mom, very, very Christian. I mean, she could probably repeat the whole Bible, you know? I mean, just really believes in God and in the faith and everything. And I'm going, oh my gosh.
And a mother.
You know, and she's going, because then she would be able to stop suffering.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that tore me up. I remember leaving and crying about it, just being, oh my gosh, would she be better? And there were a couple times when I was saying my prayers, I'm like, God, is this the way it's going to be? Mm-hmm. I mean, would she be better off? You know, we've had people on this show that has partied with people that they have recovered, but they have lost friends that they used to party with, do the same thing that they did. They're still around, but they're not. Right. But that hit me so flippin' hard to hear a mom say, well, and I'm thinking, and of course now I'm thinking selfishly, okay? I'm going, gosh, I don't want to see that happen, but my life would chill.
Right.
I mean, seriously, my life would chill. And then I would feel guilty because I'm thinking that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I don't want to see her die. Right. I don't want to see her kids go through it. I don't want to see her siblings go through it. You know, her parents are already gone. They wouldn't have to bury a child. But it's so freaking hard for us because it's almost like we're being what was that toy? It was a popular toy when I was a little kid. Stretch Armstrong. It's like you're being frickin' pulled from every direction. Someone's grabbing your leg, taking it this way, and your arm, and you're going that way, and you're doing your best to stay centered, and it's so hard to stay centered with that. And then enabling part of it. I mean, my wife used to, get to where she finally was so drunk she couldn't even go shoplift liquor anymore because she couldn't walk. She couldn't walk into a liquor store because she's so hammered. But then she would start using that, going, "You got to go get me something because I'm going to go through withdrawals and I'm going to die right here in front of you." And you're going, "No, the hell." And then you'd start seeing her, and you're going, holy shit, okay, fine. And then you go and buy something for her. And then you start that own anger inside of you all over again because you're the one that just gave her that damn bottle, but you want her to stop drinking.
Right.
It's like, I can't do it anymore.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And alcohol withdrawals, I understand, is the worst one to go through.
It is.
I thought heroin would be, but I heard alcohol is the worst one to go through. And meth is the least drug that people stay clean from. Meth is the one that people very rarely come off of, so don't use meth.
Jeez.
God, yeah. If you're going to numb, do something. Yeah, meth is, and I got that from the CDC website. They don't have as much information as I think they should, but that was really eye-opening because I was thinking, ooh, meth. But I'm thinking heroin, too. But, yeah.
Because both of those, aren't they like an instant hook? I mean,
For me, meth wasn't, and my experience with it is it was slipped in, and they thought they were being cute. I'm fortunate that I didn't end up down that path. I was angry when I learned what had actually happened because I was like, why can't I go to sleep? What the freak is happening? So for me, I'm incredibly fortunate, but I've heard that there's something about it that just grips and does not let go. And I can't imagine.
Yeah, it's not an automatic though. I bet if I did meth, I wouldn't become an addict. I don't even like pills. Yeah. So if I did heroin, I bet you $100, I'd go, oh my God, I hate this. Because, every time I was on opioids 3 times in the last 3 years because of my life going through stuff. And I quit taking them. I'm like, God, Tanner, how could you like this?
It's just whatever.
Holy
First time I
cow.
did Oxy was I had a shoulder surgery, and they did the block, and they wanted to keep me, and I'm like, no, I ain't staying in the hospital. So they sent home, and they gave me painkillers, and I have a high pain tolerance. I mean, I was popping pain pills and drinking alcohol with it just to try, and it wasn't helping me. And finally, at 5:30 in the morning, my wife at the time got a hold of the doctor and called in a prescription Oxycontin. Of course, she had to wait till the drugstores opened, but I took one of those, and at first I was sitting on the couch going, oh man, I feel so much better, no more pain. But then after a while, I'm like, why do people take this shit? Because it's like, I have no energy.
Horrible.
I don't know what the hell I'm thinking all the time.
I'm with you.
I couldn't stand up to walk to the bathroom. I had to get on my butt and do one of these, like the dogs do when they're cleaning their butt, or do the little shimmy. But other people,
they love it.
It's great.
Tanner loves it. Absolutely loves heroin. No clue why. He doesn't know why that was his drug of choice instead of alcohol or meth.
Isn't that interesting that he doesn't know why?
He just liked it.
And what's coming up for me is just how we're all wired and so different. We're just different.
Yeah.
Like, our chemistry is different. What we react to and don't react to. I mean, I did have a short pill phase, but it was something that ended. I was like, I don't like this. I don't like the way it feels. And even now, if they have to put me on something like that, I'm like, and just get it out of me because I itch. I'm just like, I'm going to go crazy. But alcohol, that was mine. Right. That was what my body was like, yeah, I like this.
Or the way
this
you felt.
Calms me down. This gives me that feeling. And I think it is really just unique to each of us.
To which one, yeah. Yeah, genetic, how
and
it
it's
is.
not black and white. And I think
there's so
if
much
you can,
gray.
Yeah, remember that as a support person. It's not black or white. You know, you could follow the AA manual straight down, and it might not work for the person that you're supporting, but you know, there's lots of other things that you can do. Or I would just say, don't give up. If that doesn't work for you, don't give up. It's you know, there's try and
going.
Stick with it, and you know, help however you can. Addiction isn't black and white, and if it was, I think maybe the stigma would be less, and
could be.
We would just have a path that all addicts travel down, and
just take this pill.
Yep.
And you won't be an addict anymore. Wouldn't we all love that?
Holy crap.
Yeah, I would have signed up for it years ago.
Right. We would have too.
You know, and I like how you said, you know, don't give up, because I made that mistake a lot as well too. So my wife went to 7 rehabs, and you know, the first 2 or 3, okay, but after that she'd go into rehab and I'd be like, what the F for? Why? Because it ain't doing shit for you, you know? And I would throw that at her every single time, because I always got the same story. I'm doing it this time. You know, I had a spiritual awakening, and I'm gung-ho, and then I'd come home and, you know, and it's like, holy shit.
Right.
But somebody told me something once. We were in this little therapy thing, and I was there with my wife, and this lady looked over at my wife, and she goes, you know, I just want to say I'm proud of you. I'm thinking, why the hell is she telling her this? And I'm just thinking this in my head, and she goes, you never gave up.
Right.
And that light bulb went off, and I was like, why the hell didn't I see that? And it's because I was so angry all the time. You know, she never stopped trying. Yeah, it took her 7 times. It could have taken 8, but she still kept putting forth that effort.
Right.
And I didn't accept that. You know, and now she's, gosh, today's the 8th. Tomorrow she hits 11 months sober.
That's
you know,
awesome.
And it's so cool to see. And I mean, addicts will say you don't ever say you got it beat, because you don't. You mentioned it early, Nikki, that it's that constant fight every single day. You're going to do what you can do to make it through that day, and then you're going to start all over again the next day. But yeah, she didn't quit. You know, and we had a gentleman on our show quite a few months ago who was talking about his porn addiction, and he said he'd beat himself up, you know, to where he'd go 5 days, and then he'd relapse, and then he'd go 7 days, and then he'd relapse, and then it was like 15 days. And he said one day he finally woke up and he goes, why the hell am I beating myself up? I went 1 day more, 2 days more than I did last time.
Right.
You know, and it was just that continuously stepping one step at a time, a little at a time, even if you're shuffling your feet, as long as it's shuffling forward.
Right.
Yep.
Eventually, hopefully, that you make it cross that line to where it doesn't take you, you know.
Right.
So.
Because the other alternative is not good for any of them.
No, their choices are minimal.
Yeah, get up.
Yeah.
You know, when you relapse, and that's what they tell them, when you relapse, get up and start again. Everybody says that, you know, don't be ashamed, get up and try again, like 5 days, whatever, you know, and it's true. You just get up and try again.
Yeah. You know, the founder of Wasatch Recovery here in Salt Lake, Mark Richards, we had him on the show, and he shared something that really helped him understand what an addict's going through. So he woke up one day with a headache, and as the day progressed, it got bad. Well, his wife happened to be talking to a girlfriend over the phone, and she goes, hey, it sounds like he's having a stroke. Get him to the hospital, like, now.
Right.
Well, they get him there, and pretty soon the doctors are telling him, hey, get family in here. Start saying your goodbyes, because he ain't going to make it. And he made it through, but during rehab and stuff, I mean, he was on a ton of medication. And he said he remembered how he felt like he was just crawling out of his skin, how he just, because he's trying to get off these narcotics, he was on strong narcotics, and how it was just driving him nuts. When him and his brother, and I think it was his brother, started saying, hey, we should get a house and turn it into a rehab. He's like, what the hell do we know about a rehab? We don't know. But he understood the people that come through his doors. He knows what they're going through. Now, he's never been an addict, but he was feeling what it feels like. And he says that just gave me a whole new perspective of what these people are battling. And again, that we don't know nothing about unless we're there.
Right.
You know?
But God bless them too. Anybody who's out there doing anything to help with addiction, whether you get it or not, we're not addicts either.
Mm-hmm.
But God bless somebody who opens something. I'm not an addict, but if I open something to help somebody with an addiction, we're out here telling our story, helping people call us. They, get us. God bless anybody who is out there fighting addiction. God bless them.
Yeah. Well, and coming in and telling their stories, I mean, Charity shared her story. She come on and shared what she went through. You guys are out from being on the other side sharing your story.
Right.
We've had people come on who have been addicted and deeply addicted, living on the streets and, doing bad things just to try to get through their addiction. But for them to come on a show and be vulnerable and say, this was me. It's not me now. I'm out of my shell. But, kudos to everybody that's doing this, whether they, and there's all types of rehabs out there. And I've had some people say that, this type of rehab doesn't work, or that one doesn't work, or this one doesn't work. And it's their own perspective and their own belief, and they have every right to think that way, how they want to think. But it's what works for an individual. Right. There are people out there, there are rehabs like the Other Side Academy, where it's a 2-year committed program. They do great work. There are people who, I know people, because my wife went there at Wasatch Recovery, who has made it through and are doing good. Matter. I mean, they're a whole new thing where they work up here.
Right.
They concentrate on the brain. They're having great success. But
Holistic is a new one they're coming
Holistic, well, and there's...
which is interesting. I saw that. We Are One Recovery Expo.
Yeah.
I was surprised. That's new. They're doing crystals and holistic and all this stuff. Yeah. And I'm with you. Whatever works. Tanner's not doing 12 steps or going to meetings or doing anything. He literally just wakes up every day and says,
just do it.
I'm not going to use heroin today. And people think, I'm sure that may not be the best, but who cares? He's 41 months clean.
Hey, it's working for him.
Right.
And it may not work for me, but it works for him.
Right. And I think everybody needs to be clear, whether you use God, church, 12-step, I don't know, just tell yourself not to, whatever it is, God bless you for staying clean. Whatever you're doing, it's a good thing.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, because Tanner did not want to do any of that anymore. So he was just like, I just won't use. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was going to say, and it's fine.
Yeah, it is fine. It is exactly fine.
It's totally fine.
Yeah, and who are we to judge which way they're doing it, as long as they're doing it?
Exactly. Yep. That's another issue. Judging around addiction. We got to judge that they don't go to a meeting. Really?
Yeah.
That's something I encounter because
who the hell cares?
For me, I had no choice but to dive into figuring it out on my own. I couldn't afford rehabs. I couldn't afford a lot of these therapy programs. So here I am on the back end using, what I now know are my divine gifts to try to figure it out. Right. But it took getting curious about crystals and energy work. And, my start was reaching out on Instagram to a random group about trauma and saying, I feel like I have no choice. I have to walk this alone. I feel scared. But that moment, that courage to reach out to a bunch of strangers on a public platform, brought a return I had no idea would push me even further on the journey. And it snowballed and snowballed. So I don't care what you're doing. Right. You got a best friend, you like that tree, and that tree's listening to you, use that tree. Get clean, stay committed, make that commitment every single day.
Right.
And, I read an article that, talked about the third door. And I related to it because I spent a long time looking for that third door. And the third door is, I can have a drink and be good. I can be normal. And for me, that doesn't exist.
Right.
And that is part of my commitment every day. Is for me, my wiring says, no.
Right.
No.
Right.
And every day it's, okay, I'm triggered. Stuff is coming up. Wow, I got more memories. I got more flashbacks coming. I'm going through this. Okay, we're doing this now. We're doing this in real time, and I am not going to drink. I will not go there again. And if other people can do that, right on. Props. Cheers to you. But please understand, for some of us, there is no third door.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't care how you're doing it.
Right.
Just
do it.
Do it.
That's what we tell people every day, because we have met a lot of people that have done many different things.
Show up for yourself, show up for your addict,
Mm-hmm.
put forth the effort, and you're doing it right.
Right. Whether
I
you
love it.
go to a meeting, 12 steps. And Tanner did do 12 steps in rehab, because that is,
Yeah,
he
it's
went
all
to
part
Ogden
of it.
Regional, both times. So he did get those tools, but sheer willpower, I guess.
Yeah.
Every day.
Some people, Charity hasn't gone through rehab, and there's other people that's been
Right.
on the show that didn't do rehab, and we've had people that don't even go to AA meetings.
Right.
They have their own thing that they do. One gal, she's a yoga instructor and Reiki master, and she uses that. That's her AA. That works for her. I know people that go to the frickin' gym. They've turned into gym addicts.
Right.
But if that works for them, then
Right on.
amen.
Yes, that's what I say.
Yep.
Don't
Yeah.
ever put down someone for whatever they're doing or not doing because you don't agree.
Yep.
And again, as support people, I don't care.
Yeah.
Just don't use or don't do it. I don't care what's working for you. Just thank God. You know what I mean? For us, we don't judge anybody. I wouldn't say, oh my God, you didn't go through 12 steps.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily for the support people. I think it's important that we say those things. Be conscious, very conscientious about people with an addiction saying this is better than this or whatever, because that's kind of a trap too.
Yeah.
Don't go down that road as support people or anybody. Whatever somebody's doing, or they're doing shows, whatever works for you.
Yep.
Amen.
I'm
with you.
Well, guys, we're gonna stop right here for a real quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Good morning, this is Leticia with Computer Hospital. We are your computer repair experts for both PC and Mac. We are your community resource for all of your computer repair needs. What makes us different is that we want to fix your computer. We also do free diagnostics. We charge a flat rate labor, which means that you won't pay by the hour. All of our computer repair is done in-house with a fast turnaround time, and same-day service is also available. Feel free to stop by anytime without an appointment. We're located in Sandy at 8721 South State Street. Again, that's 8721 South State Street, or call us at 801-987-3993. Again, that's 801-987-3993. This is Leticia with Computer Hospital, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Hello there, this is Brad Neufeld with the Resilience Talk Network, and I would like to introduce to you Taffytown, one of our newest sponsors. Let me introduce you to Derek.
Hi, I'm Derek from Taffytown. We're proud sponsors of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Taffy Town is a family-owned and operated business, still operating in the Salt Lake City area for over 100 years. We manufacture some of America's best saltwater taffy.
What makes Taffy Town stand out from all of the others?
We have a unique recipe, a whipped-style recipe that incorporates egg whites, evaporated milk, real sea salt. It's a unique product that is flavorful, melts in your mouth, and the best part is we probably have a flavor for anyone's liking, a flavor for any reason, for any season. We have unique flavors like chicken and waffles, maple bacon, frosted cupcake. New this year was a pineapple ghost pepper flavor.
That's awesome. Where can people find out more about Taffy Town and all of its products?
You can check all of this stuff out. All of our products are available for sale on taffytown.com. We ship for free from our website, so all of our pricing on there is shipping included. Oftentimes we offer special promotions and discounts to our loyal customers, so do be sure to sign up for an account, and we look forward to seeing what we can do to make you smile with our taffy.
Where are you located?
We are currently located at 9813 South Prosperity Road in West Jordan, Utah, just at the foothills of the Copper Canyon Mine.
Derek, taffy has always been a great gift to give. What are some of the creative ways Taffy Town can help say thank you to others?
Yeah, if you're looking for gift ideas, whether to say thank you to friends or family, or maybe to your clients after such a difficult or successful year that you've had, you could look no further than to get a gift idea from taffytown.com. We offer pre-packaged gift boxes that say that it's saltwater taffy from the city of the Great Salt Lake, and it tells a little bit about the history of our community and making candy for so long. You can also do customized gifts to pick out just the right flavors or colors of candy for that special someone, and deliver even a personalized message in that box to them. So please feel free to check out taffytown.com for any gift ideas this season.
Thank you so much, Derek. Please visit taffytown.com, that's taffytown.com, to find out more about the products and services that Taffy Town offers. You won't be disappointed.
Do you know someone who's gambling with death due to an addiction? Do you know someone whose life is being turned upside down due to a loved one that's battling with addiction? Hi, I'm Al Richards. I am the host of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. I started the podcast due to my wife's battle with alcohol. Let's just say I became addicted to her addiction. Our podcast is helping people understand a little more about those who have battled addiction and those who are hurting from their addiction. Through raw vulnerability, we share stories that help uncover the root causes of addiction. Shame felt on both sides, matter of the conscious and subconscious mind, continued beliefs, and often confusing paths of recovery. We collaborate with real people and their stories, as well as licensed professionals, to help our audience gain a better understanding of addiction. You can find us on Resilience Talk Network. You can also find us on Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. That's Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. You can also find us on YouTube. Just look up the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back. Thanks for sticking around. Hey, before we get going again on the last part of the show, we want to thank a couple more sponsors. We got Troy Hoddle, my good friend over at I Am Powered Ninja Real Estate. TJ McLeland, another friend of mine that I've met networking at Fitness Realty. And my new friend Tatiana Rose with Advanced Business Books. So she's a CPA, and if you guys are needing someone to take care of your books,
CPA.
She's awesome.
Send it to me. I need a CPA for my business, and I bought a house. That
I will make sure I put that in my notes. So I'm going to put
ever do my taxes.
Advanced Business Books.
There you go. Thank you. Send that.
So
to me.
that way I know to remember to send you that.
That would be great.
Okay. Well, Christy, Nikki, thank you guys again so much for taking time out of your morning to share with us your journey, your story with your son Tanner. Congratulations to him on his sobriety, where he's at, and basically just doing it on his own. If that's what's working for him, that's great, and thank you for all the podcasts you guys have been on, going out and getting this message out there, because I think it's going to take a lot more of us to get out there and start sharing this more and more to get people to start looking at things differently.
Right.
Because again, there is nothing wrong, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it. If you're looking at them and judging them, look in yourself in the mirror.
Right.
Because you think you're perfect, you're not.
Yep.
Maybe you didn't fall into an addiction like that, but the majority of these people,
especially in the world today, what's going on? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, well there's more and more people that are using and drinking because of the fear and different things that's happening.
Just the way people are behaving with each other. I'm sorry.
It's nasty.
I am stunned.
Yeah, I am too.
I am absolutely stunned. So if you're judging an addict, well, be very careful, because the stuff that's going on, it's not a disease. You are knowingly doing and behaving and harming people. Addicts, it's a true disease.
Yeah.
Be very,
Well, and by acting the way that you're acting towards other people, you don't know what they're going through in their life. Because I tell you what, they could have just lost a husband or a wife or a child or been diagnosed with cancer or a brain tumor. You have no freaking clue. So stop thinking you have the damn right to tell somebody off because they cut you off at an intersection, or they didn't use their blinker, or who knows what, or because they have a different belief than you. You have no clue what the hell they're going through in their life, because we're all going through something.
Right.
All of us are. And you don't have a clue what that person...
Always be kind.
Yeah,
I send so much stuff on Instagram about kindness. Yeah. And people just are like, oh, thank God she does it. And I do. It's like, just be kind.
That's the best way of being.
And it's not. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it. It's not. I mean, since I'm out here single, my husband died, my whole life is different. I am just amazed at the way people behave and treat each other. I'm stunned.
Yeah.
I mean, she told me a little bit when she was on Facebook when she was young, but I was just like, oh, God, she's just a premenstrual girl. God,
No.
Oh, I am stunned at the way people just treat each other, and not who just have an addiction or whatever. It is frightening.
Yep. And
we have become so filtered. And when I say filtered, I mean, we're using this, I'm good, you're not.
Yeah.
I'm good. And I'm with you. We're not kind to each other. And when we are being unkind, when we are saying, well, this person has a problem, listen, you might also have a problem. There's something inside of you that you're not owning, and you're using that to justify your own position.
Exactly.
And we all do it. We're all guilty of it. But when we're doing that, that is deliberate.
Right.
Yeah.
It's intentional. Whether we want to admit it or not, it is.
And it's okay. The world's, the country's good with it.
Oh,
Nobody calls anybody out. Conversations aren't being had. It's like, well, why should we change? Because everybody's good with it.
Yeah.
If nobody's calling you out or saying, I'm not going to put up with that, it's okay.
Yep.
If everybody's right, then nobody's wrong. And if nobody's wrong, then everybody's right.
Then it's right.
The new epidemic.
The new epidemic.
Oh, God. Oh, let's not have another one of those.
Yeah, we'll stay out of that one.
Yes.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much. If there is something that you could share with our listeners, what would that be? I mean, I would like, Christy, for you to share something, and Nikki, for you to share something. I mean, what is it that you think?
Well, and I already said this, but I think the most important thing, and I say this all the time, if nobody hears me say anything but this one thing, separate the addict from the person. You know what I mean? It is so important, especially as the support people, the family, whatever kind of support, whether you're the family, friends, whatever, please separate the addict from the person, because that's not who they are. And if you can get, and this is just my personal opinion, if you can get past that, I think going through addiction and recovery with your loved one is easier, because you're not guilting them and judging them and feeling all these feelings. You are just saying, we're going to do this together as a family. I think it would get a lot of people over the hump. Like, I can't trust you. You're a horrible person. You did all these horrible things. If we can get past that and just get that out of the work, don't even go there, then we just go right into the work. And I know it works. I know it works for us.
Yeah.
And we don't judge any addicts. We, I mean, just like, well, I don't want my things thrown in my face, I'll tell you. So, you know what I mean? And so that is the one thing that I just think is so important for people to just understand. Just get past that. Because people ask, so when you brought Tanner home, did you not trust him? No. I didn't lock stuff up. No. I just went back to Tanner's now Tanner.
Yep.
I didn't think of him as the addict. I didn't lock stuff up. I didn't hide my jewelry. There's alcohol in my house. I can drink, I mean, he can find heroin. He can find alcohol. He can steal stuff. You know what I mean? I don't need to go down that road. And I never went down that road, never said anything to him, never made him feel like I didn't trust, nothing. Because I was just like, okay, now this is Tanner. Like she said, this is our Tanner. Yeah. And he can be trusted. And he is this amazing child brother, So I never went down that road and just went right back to this is my Tanner.
Thank you for sharing. That's awesome. Nikki, how about yourself?
So I think what's been most helpful for me is just learning and understanding the concept of being empathetic towards someone. So me as a support person, I have never been through addiction. I've never dealt with the struggles of it and all that comes with it. But I can look at someone that is struggling with addiction or has struggled with addiction and still see them as a person and see them as a whole. And I think when you have that raw feeling and emotion and you can feel that for other people, you kind of let go of the judgments, of the selfishness, of the this is about me, and you can truly love someone for who they are. And even if the addiction doesn't define them, they've struggled with that. And if you can still love someone, even starting within your own walls of your home, if you can start loving deeply an addict or that's recovering, start there. That's one more person that doesn't have to suffer alone. And if we can start there and really grow that empathy and learn together and teach each other and lift each other up, that is where we will be able to stop the stigma of addiction, to stop the shame that is going towards these people, because we can be empathetic, we can love them, and we together can make a difference.
Amen. Love it.
Love it.
Charity, is there something you want to say before we sign off here?
I just want to thank both of you. Thank both of you for showing up the way that you are, for seeing us, for seeing those of us who do struggle and who are working our way out onto the other side. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the hope that you bring and the light that you bring.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Everything's well put. Great show. Again, thank you for being a part of this. Love what you guys are doing, getting out there and spreading the word. So, guys, thank you for sticking around and listening to this show. It was another phenomenal episode. It was great. So we're going to end you with this as we always do. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing. Recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.